Nearly 4 decades have passed, yet the shadow of Chernobyl still looms. In the final years of the Cold War, the plant near the model city of Pripyat was a symbol of Soviet ambition. It would instead become the site of the world's worst nuclear disaster, a catastrophe whose consequences are still unfolding. In the early hours of April 26, 1986, a recklessly managed safety test went horribly wrong. A power surge in reactor number 4, a consequence of a flawed reactor design and critical human error, triggered a catastrophic steam explosion. A second, more powerful blast followed, blowing the 2,000-ton lid off the reactor core, exposing its radioactive heart to the atmosphere. For 10 days, a graphite fire raged within the exposed core, spewing a toxic plume of radioactive isotopes high into the sky. Carried by winds, this invisible poison drifted over Scandinavia, then silently blanketed vast swathes of Europe, contaminating land, water, and air across the continent. Located just 65 miles from Kiev, the disaster became more than a technological failure. It was a profound political crisis. The Soviet government's initial response of denial and secrecy left millions unknowingly exposed to deadly radiation, a betrayal that would shake the foundations of the state itself. The sheer scale of the release is difficult to comprehend. An estimated 50 to 185 million curies of radioactive particles were unleashed, a volume of fallout hundreds of times greater than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Vast stretches of Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia were rendered uninhabitable, forcing hundreds of thousands to resettle. The immediate human cost was borne by the liquidators who heroically fought to contain the inferno, many sacrificing their health and lives in the process. The post-mortem was damning. Chernobyl exposed a cascade of failures, an unstable reactor design lacking a proper containment structure, a compromised safety culture, and a political system that delayed critical evacuations for a fatal 36 hours. That haunting legacy of design flaws and questionable safety culture now frames new anxieties, as attention shifts from the contaminated land to the vast expanse of the open ocean. Here, concerns center on Russia's aging fleet of nuclear-powered submarines and warships. Powered by marine reactors of a similar Soviet-era vintage, these vessels have earned a chilling nickname: floating Chernobyls. The fear is that aging technology and lax oversight could lead to a catastrophic accident at sea, unleashing a radioactive disaster that knows no borders. The term floating Chernobyl is more than a headline. It evokes the 1986 disaster, born from flawed design and secrecy. Now that anxiety is projected onto the oceans, focused on nuclear-powered surface combatants, which operate far from any containment infrastructure. Nuclear power has long given submarines virtually unlimited range while hidden, but on the surface, it's a different story. Exposed to combat and collision, nuclear-powered surface ships are exceptionally rare. The immense cost and inherent danger have been a powerful deterrent. These warships are mobile nuclear plants, but instead of being bolted to bedrock, they are constantly pitching through violent storms, their systems battered by corrosive salt spray. They navigate unforgiving environments where a single failure can be catastrophic. The ingredients for disaster are eerily similar to Chernobyl: aging technology, questionable maintenance, and human error. Russia's own naval history is scarred by nuclear accidents in its submarine fleet, a chilling precedent for what can go wrong at sea. At the center of this debate is the Russian battlecruiser, Admiral Nakhimov. A titan of the Cold War, the Kirov class was designed for one purpose: to hunt and destroy American aircraft carriers with overwhelming firepower. After the Soviet Union's collapse, the Nakhimov was left to rust in a shipyard for nearly 3 decades. Now, after a long and opaque modernization, it's being resurrected, touted by Moscow as a symbol of renewed naval might. State media hails it as a superweapon, armed with new hypersonic missiles. But Western naval analysts and environmental watchdogs are sounding the alarm, warning that the ship represents an unacceptable risk to global maritime security. They point to its core, a nearly 40-year-old hull powered by 2 aging pressurized water reactors. After decades of inactivity, serious doubts persist about metal fatigue, reactor integrity, and the true state of its safety systems. A major accident could unfold in the strategically vital and ecologically fragile Arctic. A radioactive release there would be an environmental catastrophe, poisoning pristine waters for centuries, with fallout creating a borderless global crisis. To understand Admiral Nakhimov, consider the Kirov class, Project 1144 Orlan. These were Cold War statements in steel, massive, nuclear-powered, and heavily armed. When Kirov appeared in 1979, it stunned Western observers. Over 820 feet long and 28,000 tons, second only to aircraft carriers. Combined nuclear and steam turbines gave high speed and virtually unlimited range. They could deploy far from home, independent for extended periods. Armed for carrier killing with P-700 Granite, layered air defense, and strong anti-submarine warfare. Their arrival helped spur the U.S. to recommission Iowa-class battleships. 4 were built, 2 scrapped. Pyotr Veliky and the newly modernized Admiral Nakhimov remain. Concerns surrounding the Admiral Nakhimov are rooted in Russia's troubled history with nuclear power at sea. During the Cold War, a massive fleet of nuclear vessels was constructed with breathtaking speed to challenge Western naval dominance, often prioritizing speed over safety. From the 1960s through the 1990s, a chilling pattern of accidents plagued the fleet. Rushed designs and a high-pressure operational tempo created a perfect storm for disaster, costing countless lives, and severely contaminating the marine environment. The litany of disasters is harrowing. In 1961, the submarine K-19 suffered a complete loss of coolant to its reactor. To prevent a meltdown, crewmen jury-rigged a new cooling system, exposing themselves to fatal radiation. Their heroic sacrifice saved the ship but cost many their lives. In 1986, the same year as Chernobyl, submarine K-219 experienced an explosion in a missile tube off Bermuda. A fire spread, and after a desperate 3-day battle, it sank into the depths, taking its 2 nuclear reactors and at least 15 nuclear warheads with it. Just 3 years later, in 1989, the advanced submarine K-278 Komsomolets caught fire and sank in the Norwegian Sea. 42 sailors died. Its reactor and 2 nuclear torpedoes still rest on the seabed, a source of ongoing concern for potential plutonium leakage. The new millennium brought no reprieve. In 2000, the world watched as the Kursk suffered 2 massive internal explosions and sank, killing all 118 sailors. The tragedy was compounded by the Kremlin's initial secrecy and refusal of international assistance. This pattern of opaque responses, and an institutional obsession with secrecy, severely eroded trust in Russia's naval safety culture. It created a perception of a system unwilling to acknowledge its failures, or learn from them transparently. It is this legacy of disaster and doubt that now casts a long shadow over the Admiral Nakhimov's celebrated return. The question is not only about its new hardware, but whether the culture that operates it has truly changed. Few cautionary tales loom larger than the nuclear-powered spy ship, SSV-33 Ural. Built on a Kirov hull, it was designed to hoover up U.S. missile test data. From the start, Ural suffered mechanical failures. Its special pier wasn't ready. The ship sat at anchor, corroding. A 1990 fire caused extensive damage. In 1991, a storm tore it free. It nearly smashed into a rocky islet. In 1992, a nearby ammo depot exploded. The crippled ship narrowly avoided disaster. With systems failing and crew desertions, workers welded Ural to the pier. Decommissioned in 2002 and scrapped, Ural became a symbol of ambition outstripping capability. The Admiral Nakhimov that returned in 2025 is transformed after a vast refit. Work began in earnest in 2014, delayed repeatedly for years. Reports cite universal vertical launchers for Caliber and Onyx missiles. Some accounts suggest Zircon hypersonic capability. New radar systems and layered air defenses including Fort M and Panzer M are reported. ASW upgrades, Packet NK and OTVET, plus embarked helicopters enhance reach. A modern AK-192M replaces the old Soviet main gun. Critics point to integration challenges, workmanship questions, and industry strain. Only time and trials will prove whether it is a superweapon or another Ural in the making. The core concern, a compact, high-power nuclear reactor inside a warship. It operates amid constant motion, vibration, corrosion, and potential battle damage. A coolant leak or breach at sea cannot be entombed like on land. Contamination would spread via currents and winds across vast distances. Ecosystems could collapse, Fisheries suffer, and coastlines face toxic exposure. Locating, containing, or salvaging a sunken reactor is monumentally difficult. Existing wrecks are monitored as ticking time bombs under the sea. Port time brings urban risk, maintenance, refueling, and human error near population centers. A dockside accident could trigger mass evacuations, turning a harbor into ground zero. Admiral Nakhimov embodies a double-edged sword of naval nuclear power. If modernization succeeds, its arsenal and range make it a peerless surface combatant. It can hold fleets and land targets at risk from thousands of miles away. It serves as the centerpiece of a task force, and a symbol of prestige. But the same reactors that empower it introduce catastrophic failure modes. Long inactivity, complex refits, and a checkered safety history compound risk. Superweapon, or floating Chernobyl? The truth may lie in between. Undeniably powerful, yet inherently risky by design. Its offensive might is inextricably tied to potential self-destruction and contamination. As sea trials begin, the world is watching. Military planners will monitor performance, movements, and weapon tests. Environmental groups focus on transparency and safety. For those tracking nuclear wrecks, a mobile threat adds urgency. Success could embolden further modernization or even new nuclear surface designs. Failure would be costly, undermining naval ambitions and industry credibility. Nakhimov's fate will shape Russia's surface fleet path. It carries not just weapons, but the ghosts of Chernobyl and past naval tragedies. The world hopes it remains a symbol of might, and not the epicenter of the next nuclear catastrophe.